Hi you guys, welcome back. So today we're going over a story as old as time. How many times have we heard the story of a sinful pastor who preaches righteousness, grace, and mercy, and then who's later charged with deception, destruction, and greed?
Two church leaders with ties to Tampa are facing federal charges tonight. They're at the center of what investigators are calling a multi-million-dollar conspiracy involving money laundering, forced labor, and abuse.
These neighbors were absolutely stunned by what went on this morning. Neighbors in this community, they woke up to helicopters and FBI agents. And once they found out why those federal agents were there, it was even more surprising.
So this guy's name is David E. Taylor, and he claims himself to be an apostle, a healer, and a prophesier. And he's done several demonstrations during church services where he claims that with the help of God through him, people have been healed from many different ailments such as cataracts, cancer, and he's even enabled people to walk again who have been suffering from major issues that have put them in wheelchairs and on crutches. And one of the major subjects he preaches about that he gets particularly passionate about is tithing. Okay, now if anyone is not familiar with the term tithing, it's basically an offering you give to the church. Basically, you give them money.
Money, please.
So usually instead of the church just coming out and asking you for money to, help with the building, the utilities and costs, that's, it's common sense. That's where the money's going. Instead, they word it in a manner that compels the followers to give them money, telling them because that's what God wants them to do.
All of you who do not tithe, that's why you're in a bind. You're not prosperous.
So just so we get it straight, I'm not against church. I'm not against tithing either. I see the church as a business, okay? So just like with any other business, they provide a service. If you're going there, you're getting something from them. Some people go there, to be prayed for. Some people go there for counseling. Some people use it as a therapy session. Some people use it to socialize, okay? So the church is providing them a service. So then feel free to pay tithes, okay? But when this tithing process starts to get into murky water is when the church leaders take advantage of this, okay? They start telling people, oh, I want you to give me your money first. And I don't care if you have bills to pay. I don't care if you're poor. The church comes first. And that's exactly what this guy did.
I don't care about you giving 10% if you don't give it first. So if all this money come in your life, then you pay God at the end, your tithes. That's disrespectful. Give me 10% first off the top. Yeah. Yoo-hoo!
So he's kind of giving drug dealer vibe, pimpish vibes. He's like, I want my cut off the top. Okay. He's saying that's what God's saying. All right. No matter what situation. So if you get like $5 million, I want my cut of that directly off the top. So case in point, this lady right here, she claims that when she first got introduced into his ministry, that she volunteered a sacrifice of $100,000. Okay. And then apparently David prophesied that she would get $5 million from her inheritance. So apparently she did get the $5 million. That's what they say. Once again, I'm taking all this with a grain of salt because when people do these testimonies on these kind of shady organizations, fake churches, whenever someone does a testimony, you just got to take it with a grain of salt because you don't know if this is just a fully made up story. Okay. So apparently she got the inheritance that he prophesied of $5 million. And then she gave $1 million to the church, which is more than the 10% that they even asked through tithing. And the way she was convinced to give up this $1 million from this $5 million inheritance she got is because David told her that God told him that she could do more. Okay. So basically he told her, hey, you could give me a little bit more money. And so she did. She gave him $1 million. So this is an example of the way he used to rake in this money.
Some of you say, I don't have 100,000, but you have 20,000. You have 50,000 here, or you have 10,000.
So throughout his teachings and his sermons, he gets very upset and emotional about the tithing process because he claims that a lot of these 21st century preachers are not practicing tithing like they should be, and therefore they are dishonoring God.
And I know a lot of these monkeys, that's right, I said it, and I'm talking about you preachers who are telling people that they shouldn't pay tithes anymore. You liar.
Because some of the preachers nowadays will tell their congregation to give what you can give, not to just give me 10% of everything you have like he does.
I don't care about you giving 10% if you don't give it first. So if all this money come in your life, then you pay God at the end, your tithes. That's disrespectful.
But he's saying, no, give me what you got straight off the top. I don't want no excuses. I don't care if you got to pay bills. Run me my money. Okay, that's the way he's been rolling, and it's just one of the reasons why he ended up getting arrested. He also uses the tactic of implementing irrational fear into the minds of his followers, saying things like they should give up the money because without God, they would not have been able to even work to get the money. Also saying things like they could get in an accident at any given time.
You forget about all those things. All it takes is one car accident, and you ain't gonna go to work no more.
He also adds that if God chose to withhold his protection from them for even one day, they could get seriously hurt and their lives would never be the same. Now, granted, people do get into car accidents that change their lives forever, so that's not really an irrational fear. But do they get into car accidents because they're not paying their tithes? Okay, that's the question here. That's the irrational fear part of his teachings that plant seeds into the minds of his followers so they will continue to follow blindly and eventually get to the point where they're willing to give up everything, their life, their possessions, their family, and in some cases even their home, so they can become a more integral part of the community they feel will lead them on the right path in their spiritual journey. So speaking of giving up everything, there were court documents released detailing alleged patterns of manipulation and labor abuse on behalf of David E. Taylor's ministries. According to the documents, Taylor and one of his high-ranking associates have been accused of instructing their followers to get on government assistance, such as EBT, and then those benefits would be used to feed the church's staff. But then there was also conflicting claims that the staff were often deprived of basic needs, such as food and sleep, if they didn't meet specific financial goals of the church. This alleged abuse, such as withholding food and sleep deprivation, happened if the people who were the so-called volunteer staff that worked in the church's call centers didn't make enough money during their calls. Some text messages were leaked regarding the alleged abuse, and they read as follows. Michelle and Top 9 Closers. How is it in 5 hours you've only raised $6,000? This is a marathon. You're not taking this serious enough. This has to stop. Nobody gets lunch or dinner. You're going to press for another 5 hours. Make sure no one eats until their numbers change. If they don't change in the next 5 hours, you're going to work until 4 a.m. Now stand up and tell everyone they're not eating. Have they eaten? I hope not. Well, we can see just by looking at him, he's never missed a meal himself, but yet allegedly he's depriving other people within his organization of food if they don't meet certain financial goals. So with all these things coming to light, he's been arrested and is accused of using the church as a cover for human trafficking, forced labor, and large-scale financial fraud. People are comparing him to running his church more like a cult. Let's talk about some of this cult-like behavior that happened within this organization. So first of all, he fashions himself to be a prophesier and made multiple claims that he can see events before they happen. One of these events he claimed would happen was the merging of North and South Korea and that they would become one nation. Well, fast forward, and we can clearly see that that has not happened. Yes, North and South Korea did come to some agreements. They shook hands, stepped over the border, but they still have not become one nation. And despite the glaring fact that he was wrong in his prophecy of them becoming one nation, he never removed the video where he claimed it would happen.
The two nations shall become one. North and South Korea shall become one.
Why? Because these cult-like religious leaders never back down from anything they've said. They never admit to wrongdoing because they have to keep their subjects under total control to ensure there's not an ounce of doubt in the minds of their followers that everything they say is truth and law. And it doesn't matter to them if they're wrong or right. And if they are wrong, well, you just better use your faith in God to make them right, okay? You must not be right with the Lord if you're letting the devil come in between your thoughts and is blurring your vision of what God is really trying to do and say. Okay? So that's the way they want their followers to think. Hey, if I'm wrong, make it right. You better figure out a way to make it make sense, or you're not right with the Lord, or you will suffer the consequences through eternal damnation. Now give me money. Well, that's going to be it for today, you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you feel about this whole story. Do you feel like this is just a whole cult? I mean, it's definitely giving cult vibes to me. Let me know down below. Don't forget to leave this video a like, and if you're new here, subscribe.